Welcome to this week's edition of Arkansas Money Talk, brought to you by the team at Retire Path Wealth. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and I'm joined in the studio today by Dale Colclaser. He is the president of Wealth Management, and Mark Smalling, who is the president of Insurance Management. The dynamic duo. It's great to be back with you. How are you this week?
Wonderful. Great to be back with you.
Well, good. Well, one of the things I've really appreciated is I've gotten to know you all, and I know that a lot of our viewers are newer to you and to Retire Path Wealth, but is your philosophy. And so I wanted to start with that today. If you'll just share a little bit about this philosophy you have around enhanced planning.
Okay, Krista, I appreciate that. And so many times whenever you bring up a topic of planning or enhanced planning, so many people think a will or a trust. And that's simply where they stop with that.
Right. So they think estate planning.
That is correct.
Right.
Yeah, that goes to the immediate default. And what we really intend by that is how we have assets structured. Going back to a philosophy of kind of thinking with the end in mind first is where do these assets eventually go? And so that lines down to how I have them titled, how I want them to pass, which assets I intend to spend, which assets I intend to leave. And so many times that has tax implications to help making those decisions.
Yes. And so what do you say to folks, though? Because I hear a common objection. People think, oh, I don't need an estate plan. I don't have that much. What do you say to that person? No,
that's exactly right. Well, the fact of the matter is everybody already has an estate plan.
Whether they know it or not,
That's
right?
absolutely correct. Your state has a plan in place for you.
Right.
You may just not like the outcome for what's there.
Because then it's the state that's deciding who gets what of your belongings, not your wishes being carried out.
That's exactly right.
For sure. Well, okay, I know one of the things that you're passionate about is making sure that things pass in a way that's tax efficient. So do you want to start with that?
That'd be a great place to start. So kind of the idea is in part of our building your retire path plan is encompassing which assets do we set up and structure for the purpose of passing on to beneficiaries, whether those beneficiaries may be our children or family in any cases, and then or if I have charitable aspects of which assets would pass that way. Because the idea is one of those is fully taxable, the other one is tax exempt. And so a lot of the things that we leave can make a difference as to how those assets are completely structured. And that begins to start with the written income plan that we've talked about many times, where we decide which assets we're going to access first, how we're going to structure them and leave them as well, and then move into an actual plan of who's going to be listed as the beneficiary on an account, where those go, especially if something happens to one of us first. Because that plan is really easy. I can leave all the assets I want to my spouse, but to anyone else, there are other implications that come in.
For sure. That actually was the case in my own family, where one of my husband's brother unfortunately passed away. And then, you know, my in-laws wanted to make sure that his share had passed to his children. Right. But they weren't aware of the per stirpes that needed to be done on the beneficiary designation. So talk a little bit about that, because I know other folks are in that situation. Well,
it's one of those things that's so commonly not even discussed. What we find is in many cases is in, banks, are notorious for this. The big box investment firms are notorious for this. Hey, we set up and structure a primary beneficiary, and then that's the only step that's taken. As opposed to the process that we try to follow all along is, yes, well, this money is to go to my children. Well, how many children do you have? Well, if I have more than one, do I want, as you have just mentioned, do I want their portion to pass to their children? Or do I want it to go back into and be left just to my remaining children? And those are all things that can be done simply on an application. Without having to go and draw up any more advanced documents. But if I am wanting to make specific requests or other things that move along past that point, there may be a need for more planning and more documentation at that point.
And one of the things we see oftentimes, and we check this with everyone that comes through the door, are how our beneficiaries set up on their current accounts. And you'd be surprised how many times there aren't beneficiaries set up at all, or they might be someone who's deceased, or maybe an ex-spouse that's still on their contracts.
Do you want to hear this crazy story too?
Absolutely.
I was talking to my dental hygienist and talking about being on the show with you all, and she goes, oh gosh, I wish people taught us this stuff, right? And I said, yeah, that's why I'm a financial educator, right? A lot of people weren't taught these things. She said, you have to share this story. She didn't realize till a couple years ago that the beneficiary on her 401k was her ex-boyfriend from 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
She hadn't talked to him in probably 18 years. She's married happily, has a daughter. And when she found that out, I mean, can you imagine? Heaven forbid that she had passed away, and legally, whatever's name is on the beneficiary is going to trump whatever the will says.
I can top that story. So
All right, go for it.
Actual scenario, and this happened about 15 years ago. Had a couple that came in. We had done full-scale financial planning, put life insurance in place, and a lot of these things. They summarily become divorced at some point past that. The wife is the ex-wife is the one that's in the least happy situation. The husband is remarried, passes away.
Okay.
Lo and behold, he had never changed the beneficiary on his life insurance policy, and so it was the prior wife. Well, we go to her, and she's like, heck, that was not the intention. I don't even want the money. She can do whatever. Well, until she realized that the potential of that was her making a taxable gift that would cost her tax dollars, because only the receipt of the money by her would be income tax free, and then she would be making a gift to the other spouse that it may cost her up to 40%. She was like, forget it, I'll just keep it.
Oh my word.
So yes, unintended consequences.
Yes.
Unintended, we want you to avoid these unintended consequences, right? Well, and I think a lot of folks shy away from this topic, this subject. I mean, do you find that that's the case? A lot of people, either they find it overwhelming or they don't necessarily want to think about what happens when they're no longer here. How do you help folks navigate through that?
Well, they do. And oftentimes, as you're seeing people over the years, people come in and they say, oh, we're talking to an attorney about that. And then 2 or 3 years later, they're still talking to an attorney about that. So
they're getting ready to prepare to begin.
That's exactly
right.
That's exactly
I love the way you put that.
Yeah. So it's this constant state of peril, but not preparing, but not getting anything actually done.
Well, and it just consumes so much brain space and worry, I think, a lot of times. And if we would just take those action steps, I think a lot of people would feel better versus just ruminating on it for all that time.
That's correct.
So if someone's watching today and they just need help, kind of figuring out where they're at in their estate planning process, making sure that everything's going to be tax efficient, what would you be able to do for them?
Well, what we can do in the offer that we're going to make today is we ask that if you will call the number, we can set up a time to establish an appointment to, first of all, get your retire path put in place with a written income plan, where we can obviously then go in and discuss all of the legacy options that you have available. Now, we are not attorneys. We are not going to write that plan for you. But what we have the ability to do is to facilitate that process through a strategic alliance that we have developed with another company, where we can go in online and actually answer some questions. There's attorneys that will then review your information and actually put a written estate plan in place for you, and then they deliver it out. The beauty is this is done for less than what most estate planning attorneys are charging in our area, as well as the process is completed in less than about 2 weeks.
That's amazing, and I love that then you're able to look at all the pieces, as we've talked about on the show before, how they fit together and how the estate plan works with all the other things that you're putting together for people with this written plan. Well, Dale, Mark, thank you so much. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but we encourage you, pick up the phone, call the number on the bottom of your screen, 866-724-3893, to get your time on Dale and Mark's calendar to come in for your complimentary meeting. This is for no cost, no charge, no obligation to start your Discover Your Retire Path plan. This will be a written financial plan, and as part of that, they'll be happy to walk you through the legacy and estate planning process and meet your needs there as well. When we come back, we have a lot more topics to cover regarding estate planning, so stay with us.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Arkansas Money Talk. I'm Kristen Oakley here with Dale Colclazier and Mark Smalling from Retire Path Wealth. And before the break, we were talking about the importance of estate planning, legacy planning. And I would love to hear if someone's watching and they decide to call the number today to come in and get help with that. How are you going to be able to help them from the get-go? What's that process going to look like when they come in for that first meeting? And just tell me how that's going to unfold for them.
Okay. Basically, we're going to sit down and we're going to get to know you because that's where the basis of planning all starts. Is everything is going to be customized to the individual client and to what their needs are, because everybody's needs can be different. Okay. So a lot of the pieces may be similar, but we need different portions and different outcomes for each individual in that case. And so that's how we're going to start with every opportunity is to get to know them, understand their situation and where they're at, what their goals are, and where they are trying to get to.
For sure.
So one of the things they're going to get a checklist of things they need to bring in, before they come in too. And so that's going to be sent out to everyone who schedules an appointment to come in. They're going to have a checklist, and because we need that information to look at their whole picture and
and to be able to give advice that's in their best interest.
Well, the other thing that comes along with that checklist is we have a web-based risk analysis tool that'll go out and ask basic questions. And it's always so funny because people, gosh, I don't know how to answer these. Well, the reality is there's no right or wrong answer. It's just which one sounds like you most.
Right. Our students get in the way, right? Our inner student, our inner child, we want to get the perfect A+.
Yes, ma'am.
But of course, you help walk people through that. Because to your point, as you said before, we're not taught this stuff in schools.
Right.
A lot of people, and I think there's sometimes that shame or not wanting to admit because it makes us feel stupid. I know that was me prior to becoming a financial educator, and I love getting to be part of the solution to that problem now. So you mentioned risk, and I know that this is what you do day in, day out for folks, is really help people discover their retirement path and really put a financial plan together that is comprehensive and holistic. And obviously, the more information someone provides to you, the more you're going to be able to help them. But let's talk about risk a little bit, because I think a lot of people aren't even aware how much risk they are currently taking in their portfolios. So how does that discussion go when you meet with someone and you're going through what they currently have, how they're currently invested, helping them determine what their risk tolerance and level actually currently is?
Yeah, I mean, one of the basic questions we ask is because the vast majority of the people that we see come in have most of their assets, honestly, in an employer-sponsored retirement plan, whether that be a 401k, 403b, or some other type of instrument like that.
Yes.
And so many times the question is how do you have those investments structured? And they go, I just let them take care of that. I mean, that's the most common answer, which really today, I mean, the one thing that has happened that's been positive is a lot of those are going to be in some type of a target date fund. But the reality of it is that is going to be managed for the masses. It's everyone that's 65 years old.
Right.
Do you, if that's where my retirement gauge is, and I will ask people, so just, look at yourself and look at the others around you. Do you view risk and volatility in the market and changes in your assets exactly the same as everyone else just because they're the same age you are? Where we try to help them to focus back to is we need to set a risk parameter that's based on what their goals and objectives and their needs are.
For sure.
And so many times that the need part is the part that's absolutely left out, because if you've really been a great saver, which is really honestly the people that we have the ability to do the most for, you may not have as great a need for growth at some point or for risk at some point in the future, because so many times risk is just paralleled with greater return. And that is not necessarily true.
Right. Well, and what you're speaking to is the different phases. There's the accumulation phase when we're working, we're saving, we're putting that hard-earned money away. But then this shift happens, this pivot needs to happen when we get closer to retirement, where it's time to start the deaccumulation, right? The distribution phase, and therefore your risk needs to change appropriately. So these terms, conservative, aggressive, talk to me a little bit about that and what that conversation's like with folks.
Well, I mean, we hear it all the time, and that's usually, without doing a risk analysis, that's how most people are actually asked by advisors is, are you conservative, moderate, or aggressive? And the answer is yes. So
that's exactly right.
And it's strange when the markets are just going up and up and up. People think that they're conservative just because their accounts haven't lost money. And the reality is, when analysis are done, that they're taking a lot of risk.
Right.
And a lot of them just discovered that again in the past year, year plus.
And even outside of just the change that you've mentioned, is so many times that some of those criteria may have met the old rule of suitability, but now we're in a best interest world.
Right.
Where as a fiduciary, we're always looking for our client's best interest, not just what is suitable for the rest of those out there.
Right.
And as a CFP for more than 20 years, that's how the rule we've always lived by.
Right.
So this is not just something we're learning like a lot of the other firms are that are out there today that have just in very recent years moved from suitability to best interest as their priority.
And that's an important distinction. And Mark, it's interesting because you mentioned a lot of people recently, that was the problem in 2022, right? A lot of folks thought that they were invested more conservatively, and that was a year where we had the anomaly of, normally if stocks are up, bonds are down, and they have this inverse relationship, but both were down at the same time. And a lot of people who thought they were invested more conservatively because they were in bond funds ended up losing so much.
That's true. I mean, the balanced allocations that most people were in didn't work at all. I mean, it's when your safe money's losing almost as much as the money in equities, that's
well, and so many of these people live under the fallacy that because I'm in a target date fund, somebody is managing my money for it to not lose.
Yes, talk to us about that.
Not just simply about asset allocation.
Right.
Well, the reality of a target date fund is primarily it's designed to become more balanced. So the idea is you're going to get at whatever age or date I'm going to plan to retire, it's trying to get you pretty much to a 60-40 target portfolio. So 60% equities, 40% bonds.
Right.
Well, again, even if I was in that portfolio last year when stocks were down more than 20% and bonds were down nearly 15-16%, it really didn't matter where I tried to hide.
Right.
And with most retirement plans moving away from insurance-based platforms that previously had a fixed type of an account where I had a place I could go hide, now I've gone to all mutual fund-based platforms, again, because of fees. Again, so many times we just focus on a fee, not an outcome, that we've gone to platforms that do not have that fixed account available.
Well, tell me about it, someone you've worked with recently where this was exposed. Like they came in and they were looking at their risk tolerance, and all of a sudden they got that wake-up call, and what were you able to do for them?
Well, I think the point of it was they had found it beforehand. So let's even go back before 2022 to 2020 when we had the anomaly because of COVID.
Right.
I had so many people that came in that were planning to retire by the end of the year. They had never had a discussion with an advisor before because they're going to wait until it's time to retire to have this discussion.
Yep.
So March comes in, they all of a sudden see their balance drop 30%. So I've gone from, and this is a real situation, a client goes from about $400,000 in assets down to about $300,000. She's lost $100,000, and her only thought is, gosh, if this goes to zero, I can't retire. So I just got to pull it all out. Well, of course, we all know what happened by the end of the year and the preceding 2 years after that the market recovers and moves up dramatically. And so fortunately, because she had been a good saver over time, her need for income wasn't as great as others may be. So she's still going to be okay with the income plan that we've put into place.
Right.
But the reality of it is maybe her legacy plan has been dramatically changed or significantly changed as to what her opportunity to be able to do things. Not only that, is her anxiety about income is still not really going away.
No, for sure. Well, and I know that that's not an isolated incident. So for people who are watching today who have these same questions and these concerns, maybe their advisors never even talked to them about some of these things we're raising on the show today, what would you want to say to that person?
Well, the first thing that I would say is to simply call the number, ask us about risk in your portfolio. Again, the first step that we're going to look at is filling out that risk profile online. It's a simple 11-question, what would you prefer type situation. Get that set up, complete the bring-in list, and let's come in and talk about it. The first step we're going to do is we're going to discuss what your needs and goals and where you're trying to get are, and then help you determine what risk level is appropriate for the outcome that you're trying to derive.
Dale, Mark, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but we encourage you, call the number on the bottom of your screen, 866-724-3893. You're also welcome to scan that QR code. Simply take your smartphone, you can hold it up to that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few simple questions, and a member of the Retire Path Wealth team will reach out to you to schedule your complimentary time to come in and meet with Dale and Mark. When we come back, we're going to be diving more deeply into taxes. How do you create greater tax efficiency throughout your full financial plan? Stay with us.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision. So why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Well, welcome back to Arkansas Money Talk. I'm Kristen Oakley here with Dale Colclazier and Mark Smalling from Retire Path Wealth. Oh my goodness, we are having a jam-packed show today talking about so many key topics as it relates to retirement. And we need to talk about taxes, of course. And the reality is there's a difference between tax preparation, which most folks are very familiar with, doing their taxes every year, and engaging in strategic tax planning for the rest of your retirement. So a lot of folks haven't even thought of that. Do you find that to be true?
I find that to be the most common place. As we come in and we begin to have a discussion about taxes, and people just kind of look at you with a blank look on their face. It's like, why are we even discussing this? Because there's nothing I can do about it.
That's the mentality that we've been lulled to sleep to believe, that there is nothing we can do about it, but that's not the case, right?
Well, and most people think that if they have a tax preparer, CPA, accountant, that they're actually doing those things for them. Isn't that what we're paying them to do? And,
right.
And they are taking what you did that past year and they're filling out the forms and getting up. But and there are exceptions, but in most cases they're not looking at ways for you to save taxes
in the future
going forward.
Yeah, they're not proactive in most approaches.
Exactly. So it's kind of a good analogy I've heard is tax preparation is you're looking in the rearview mirror. Strategic tax planning, you're looking through the windshield of the car, right? And that's what you all do. So talk to me about some of the strategies that you're able to help employ for your clients as it relates to tax planning and retirement.
The main focus and where this became such a big issue for us is because we began to realize we don't have control over what market is going to do.
Right.
The market's going to act the way it's going to act. We found that out in the last year and a half. Seems no matter what the Fed does, the things are going to do what they do. The one thing we do have the ability to control is taxes in retirement. And we do this, have this topic a lot in seminars, and people always laugh because they say, hey, while you're still working, you're never going to turn down a raise because it moves you into the next tax bracket. Right. We're going to keep getting those dollars because we don't have control over that. But as I'm drawing retirement income, I can make choices as to which assets I draw on at what time, which then dramatically affect my taxes. And the reality is we're in a changing tax world. We're under a current code that's going to expire in the next 3 years.
Right.
And we're going to go back to the old scenario. And the reality of it is some of this changes in those brackets alone may make the difference in you paying 83% more tax on part of your income 3 years from now than what you're going to pay this year.
Oh my gosh. I mean, what a difference. And that can really eat away at someone's retirement savings without them, from the get-go, right?
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and there's other strategies you can use, and one of them is, Social Security. That's one reason why we tell people, especially right now, people that are close, is deferring Social Security gives us more room in the bucket to take advantage of the lower taxes right now. And we think that it's important to look at all of those things.
Right.
For sure. Well, and it's interesting because I hear a lot of times folks say, well, my financial advisor that I'm currently working with has never even had this tax conversation with me. And that's the difference, right? With a big box retail firm, a lot of times those advisors are told they can't talk about strategic tax planning.
That's correct.
But you all are independent, which means that you are able to engage in all sorts of strategies to help folks pay less to the IRS. We want people to pay what they need to pay, right? But we don't want you to pay any more than you have to pay.
That's exactly correct.
So what are some of the places that you start with someone when they come in begin to engage in this tax planning?
Well, I think first is the understanding of it, just exactly what you mentioned, because the purpose of investing, nobody invests to lose money or to pay less.
Right.
The idea of it is if we have the ability to increase your return by simply you get to keep more of your own money because you're paying less of it out, that's an enhancement and a value add to begin with.
Right, talk about enhanced planning, right?
That's exactly correct. That's exactly
Yep.
nice. But the idea is as well is that so many people are so hands off because they're so afraid to touch the topic.
Yes.
Because as again you mentioned that they're refrained from doing that.
Right.
And really going in. And I think the other thing that a lot of times after clients have gone or prospects have gone through the first 2 steps of our process, which both of those initial meetings are completely complimentary and no obligation, is by the time they get to the end of that second, they come to the realization that they really had a broker and not an advisor to begin with, which is fine. I mean,
Right.
brokers have their place.
They do have their place,
But
yeah.
the reality of it is if you're looking for someone to come in beside you and move along in the process, that's how our firm is designed to work.
When I love that, when folks call and they come in and set up this complimentary appointment, they're actually going to get to sit down with both of you. Is that right? Tell
That is
me how
correct.
that whole process goes when someone comes into the office and they get to meet with you.
Yeah, that's correct. We think 2 heads are better than one, and Dell and I both sit in on them, and we've both been doing this for a long time, and but you still you pick up and you see things that the other one may not see in certain
Right.
situations. So it's
When I know your personalities blend really well together too, right? So tell me how that goes. You guys keep each other in line.
Yeah, that's absolutely the idea. Is that sometimes I'm always just looking. Let's get to the answer.
Right.
And Mark has a
Mark's
ability
like,
to kind
"How
of
are you
tone that
doing
out.
today?"
how are
Right.
you doing today? That's right. That's right.
No, but I love that. I mean, because you need both parts, right? We've
That's
talked
right.
about this before. It's a whole picture process. Well, if someone's watching and maybe they're currently meeting with a financial advisor and they're not having these conversations, talk to me about the value of them getting a second opinion from you guys.
Yes, and that's one thing that I absolutely encourage, because I'll also honestly admit we're not the answer for everyone. I mean, and so, but we want to help you get to that spot. And so by coming in and taking advantage of the complimentary consultation offer to help get started down your retire path, hopefully that helps you to make the decision to get you into the right spot. That if we're not the right fit, you know to go on to the next step. But I would also encourage you that if you're having those discussions, to give us a shot, to come in and have a visit and see if we're the type of firm that you are more interested in working with. Again, someone to come in alongside you, build a relationship for the long term to help benefit your financial situation for yourself, your spouse, your family, and then on from there.
Dale, Mark, thank you so much. A treat to be with you. To our viewers at home, thank you so much for watching. We encourage, call the number at the bottom of your screen to get started on your Discover Your Retire Path, 866-724-3893. We love you, Arkansas. We'll see you next week.